Okay, let's unpack this. We're diving deep today into some really cutting-edge stuff in AI.
Yeah, things that get talked about a lot, but maybe aren't always fully understood.
Exactly. We're looking at building custom large language models, LLMs, and also what really makes an AI into a powerful AI agent.
Right. And our goal here really is to cut through some of the hype, get to the core ideas, the interesting questions.
We want to help you get a handle on this field pretty quickly, maybe have a few aha moments along the way, and just figure out what it all means.
And we're using real-world experiences as our guide here, starting with this journey of building custom LLMs.
Yeah, imagine like creating an AI coach that's totally based on your specific methods. Maybe you want to scale your expertise or something.
Someone we looked at actually did pretty much that. They used the tech behind things like ChatGPT to build their own custom version, a custom GPT.
So think of that like a super specialized version of the general AI, trained up with specific instructions, specific data, and the initial setup. Surprisingly fast.
Yeah, like maybe 2 hours for the basics.
Yeah.
But here's where it got interesting, a sort of subtle point from their experience.
Go on.
Well, even after they made updates, seemingly simple changes to their custom GPT, those changes didn't always pop up instantly.
Huh. Like a delay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It felt like there was a queue, for the changes to actually take effect, which kind of highlights a practical thing, right?
Yeah, what's that?
That even this advanced AI isn't just magic floating in the ether. It's tied to real servers, real infrastructure.
Right. The cloud still has traffic jams, basically, queues and waiting times. So immediate updates aren't always, well, immediate.
Precisely. It's a good reminder of the physical reality behind it all.
That's a really good point. Makes you think about the actual load on these systems. Okay, so this whole process, it leads us straight into prompting, doesn't it?
It really does. The source confirmed they were using, the main prompting techniques we hear about. And they saw this custom build as a way to systematize their daily work.
And even use it for marketing, like a branding tool.
Yeah, potentially. You set up these custom GPTs by giving them a name, description, really detailed instructions, even conversation starters.
And you can feed them files, too, like your whole methodology or scripts.
Exactly. Upload documents to be its knowledge base. And crucially, you can give it the ability to search the web.
Okay, now that raises a question. If it can search the web, are there worries about it finding conflicting info? Or, maybe less credible takes on complex things like, say, emotional intelligence?
And that's a valid concern. But what this source found was, well, interesting. Their custom GPT seemed to use the web search mostly to confirm the instructions it already had.
So less about finding brand new ideas and more about checking, does the web agree with what I've been told?
Kinda, yeah. It's like it was validating its predefined world, the world the creator gave it through the instructions.
Wow.
And if you zoom out, that tells you something pretty profound, I think.
Yeah.
It really underlines why we humans need to be involved in building this stuff.
Mhm.
Because whoever writes the instructions is basically defining the AI's reality.
So it's not like the AI is stamping approved on your work. It's just building the reality you fed it based on the data, the prompts.
Exactly. Which ties into this whole concept of hallucinations in AI. When the AI just makes things up, states things that aren't true.
Right. I've heard about that.
Well, there's a specific type that's particularly insightful here. It's called snowballing hallucination.
Snowballing, how does that work?
It happens because the AI fundamentally doesn't know the difference between the data you gave it and the things it generated itself earlier in the conversation. It treats both as like ground truth.
Oh, I think I see. So if it makes a mistake early on.
Right. Imagine your custom AI says, your method was created in 2025. Obviously wrong. But then later on, it might refer back to that false statement as if it's a known fact and build more potentially wrong information on top of it. It snowballs.
Yikes. Okay, so it really highlights that the AI doesn't understand truth in the way we do. It doesn't have this external reference point beyond its data.
Precisely. It's not thinking like us. It's fundamentally a next token predictor. It's constantly calculating what's the most statistically likely word or piece of code to come next, based on everything it's been trained on and the current context.
Like super advanced predictive text on your phone, but massively scaled up.
That's a good analogy, yeah. It's pattern matching on a huge scale, operating probabilistically. Think about like an ancestry DNA test. It can only tell you things based on the database it has access to, right? Not some complete global truth.
Right. It's limited by its data.
AI is similar. It works with the information it's been given. Probabilities, patterns, not inherent understanding.
Okay, that clarifies the LLM side quite a bit. Now let's shift gears slightly to AI agents. You said they operate at a different level.
Yeah, a different level of complexity, definitely. Maybe think about workflows in like 3 tiers to get a handle on it.
Okay, 3 tiers. What's the first?
Tier 1 is just normal computer code,
Mm-hmm.
your standard software. Great for structured tasks, take data from here, put it there. Predictable.
Got it. Like moving names between lists.
Exactly. Then Tier 2 is a workflow that brings in AI, usually an LLM. This is really good when you have messy, unstructured input and you want structured output.
Like analyzing customer feedback comments for sentiment, positive, negative, neutral.
Perfect example. Taking unstructured text, outputting structured sentiment scores. But then, Tier 3, the top level, that's the agentic workflow.
And what makes that different? It's not just having AI involved.
No, it's more than that. It's about specific components and, crucially, agency, the ability to act more independently.
Okay, components and agency. Let's break that down. What are the components?
So a true AI agent generally has 4 key parts. First, the model itself, that's the brain, right? Like a GPT-4 or a Claude model.
Okay, the core LLMs.
Second, and this is super important, are its tools. Think of these as the agent's body, its arms and legs. Ways to interact with the world.
Tools like what?
Web search, writing and running code, generating images, accessing specific databases, maybe even sending emails or interacting with APIs.
And the key is the AI decides when to use them.
Yes, that's the fascinating part. The LLM, the brain, decides which tool is needed for the task at hand and when to deploy it. Like GPT-4 doesn't just automatically search the web for everything. OpenAI gave it a web search tool and the intelligence to figure out, okay, I need outside info for this. I'll use the search tool now.
Interesting. Okay, so model, tools. What else?
Third is the prompt. We've talked about the instructions, the goals you give the agent.
Right.
And fourth is memory. This includes short-term memory, like remembering what you just talked about in the current conversation, but also potentially long-term memory.
Long-term, like,
Storing key facts about you or your preferences or maybe standard operating procedures for your business, things it needs to know consistently, treating them as foundational truths for its tasks.
okay, model, tools, prompt, memory. Got it. So based on that, you're saying a lot of things called agents right now aren't real.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. Most are probably closer to that Tier 2 AI workflow. They follow a set process using AI, but don't have much discretion.
So the sentiment analysis example, it just analyzes sentiment. It doesn't decide how to understand customer feelings.
Exactly. It executes the specific task you gave it.
Yeah.
Analyze these comments. A true agentic system, however, that's where the agency part comes in.
Tell me more about agency.
It's where the LLM gets to use its own judgment, its own discretion, to figure out the best way to solve the problem you give it.
So instead of just following step A, B, C.
It might decide the steps itself.
Yeah.
Imagine you tell an agent, compile a report on the geopolitics surrounding Russia and Ukraine. You don't list the websites or keywords.
Right, you just give the goal.
And the agent goes off, decides what searches to run, maybe which academic papers and news articles seem most relevant, assesses the information, and can even change its approach if the first few searches aren't helpful. It can iterate.
That sounds much more powerful. Like it's actually tackling the problem, not just executing a script.
Precisely. It's often described as a sliding scale of agency. The more agentic a system is, the more freedom it has to choose its path, adapt its methods, maybe even try multiple approaches to reach the objective.
So it could even decide, going back to the customer sentiment idea, that just reading comments isn't enough.
Potentially, yeah. A highly agentic system might decide, to really get this, I need more data. Maybe I should draft and send an email survey, or even spin up a simple web page to collect targeted feedback.
Wow, okay. That's a significant leap.
It really is. And this agentic idea is starting to connect with tools we already use, like Zapier.
Zapier, the automation tool. If this, then that.
Yeah, normally it's very fixed, right? Trigger X causes action Y.
Sure.
But there's work being done on protocols, like something called Model Context Protocol, or MCP. Basically standard ways for AIs to talk to external tools.
So you could connect Zapier to an AI agent.
Potentially, yes. Imagine telling your chat GPT agent, organize the leads from this spreadsheet and send them a welcome email. Instead of you setting up the specific Zap, the agent could look at your available Zapier workflows and decide, okay, I need this workflow to get the names and that workflow to send the email, and then trigger them.
Making the AI the one choosing the zaps. That makes it agentic.
Exactly. Or look at OpenAI's own operator. I think it's still in beta. You can give it a complex task like, plan a weekend trip to Paris for me.
Oh, it does what?
It figures out the steps, It decides which airline websites to check, which hotel booking sites, maybe looks up reviews, considers your budget if you gave it one.
Yeah.
It makes the sequence of decisions itself.
That really paints a picture of this emerging field, AI engineering, you called it.
Yeah, that's a term floating around. It's about taking these powerful foundation models, the brains, and then building the right structures, the code, the prompts, the tool access around them to get them to do specific complex tasks reliably.
Like building a robot suit for the AI brain.
That's a great way to put it. You have the brain, the model, and you build the suit, the prompts, tools, memory access. And what's cool is you could potentially swap out the brain, use a different model, but keep the suit, and the overall function might remain similar.
Giving you flexibility. Okay, so pulling this all together,
Yeah.
what's the big takeaway for someone listening?
Well, we've covered a lot, from how custom LMs are built and their quirks, like hallucinations,
Right, the pattern matching nature, how our input shapes their world.
to understanding this sliding scale of agency, moving from simple automation to these AI agents that can actually strategize and make decisions.
But it's not just about the tech itself, is it? It's about what we do with it.
Absolutely. Which brings up a really practical question. Can you actually, make money from building these custom GPTs or agents?
And the answer seems to be,
Definite yes. People are already doing it.
how? What are some examples?
Well, we saw the Tony Robbins AI example mentioned.
Mhm.
That's essentially a custom GPT, probably with voice cloning, packed with his brand info, sold as a premium offering.
Okay, so like a branded AI persona. What else?
You could deploy a custom GPT on your website. Maybe it acts as a lead generation tool, offers to create a personalized report for someone if they give their name and email.
Ah, like an interactive lead magnet.
Exactly. Or integrate one into WhatsApp or another messenger to guide potential customers through a sales process, answering their specific questions based on your data.
And this ties into the shift away from just Googling everything.
Yeah, as people start chatting with AI more, your business, your expertise could become a direct reference point inside that AI conversation,
Yeah.
pointing users towards your actual services.
So it's a new channel almost, a way to embed your value directly into the user's workflow.
Right. Think about monetizing specific skills. You could build a custom GPT focused on, say, advanced NLP techniques, or maybe one that teaches elicitation strategies for better negotiation or communication.
A tool that helps people understand human dynamics better.
Potentially, yeah. Something that empowers people, maybe in a work context, to navigate interactions more effectively based on understanding behavioral patterns, maybe without making it overly personalized or, creepy.
That opens up possibilities. But it also brings up that other crucial question. Just because we can build these things.
Should we? Yeah.
Yeah.
That leads straight into the ethics and governance discussion, which is huge.
There's definitely concern that regulating AI too heavily could just lock it down, concentrate the power in the hands of a few big players.
That's a real risk, for sure. But what's kind of unique about LLMs, as one source pointed out, is how the adoption happened. It was sort of backwards.
And backwards how?
Users like you and me got powerful access first. Then companies started integrating it more seriously. And governments, they're still trying to figure it all out, playing catch up.
So unlike maybe previous big tech waves, the public got hands-on early.
Yeah, which is pretty unprecedented.
Yeah.
It means individuals, smaller teams, you have a real chance to be involved, to shape things from the ground up, maybe more than ever before.
And this is where that idea of emotional maths comes in, integrating human-centered thinking before building the agents.
That's the concept, yeah. The idea is if you first establish a really clear understanding of human values, communication, intentions, the sort of emotional maths base code of positive interaction before you start applying these powerful AI tools.
You build better, more aligned tools from the start.
That's the hypothesis, that
Yeah.
it could be a massively valuable approach.
Right.
Being proactive, making sure we build things for the right reasons, aligned with genuine human needs, not just because the tech allows it.
Focusing on the should before jumping straight to the can.
Exactly. So maybe the takeaway question for you listening is, what's your role, your responsibility in shaping the AI you use or maybe even build?
Especially knowing how they work pattern matching, creating their own truth based on input. How do we make sure that ground truth is, well, good, beneficial, inclusive?
How do we avoid baking in the biases we've seen in other areas, like some of the early image generation issues?
Yeah. How will you use these incredibly powerful tools while also thinking consciously about their impact?
Definitely something worth mulling over.
Indeed. Lots to think about until our next deep dive.